Time is yours.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Once again, welcome to this discussion. I think the topic is quite interesting. We'll talk about the digital transformations where everybody seems to be talking about it across the industry sectors. So today we are so fortunate. We have two prominent players, so to speak, in these digital transformations. Let me introduce first. First is Ibu Sri Novalia.
Good morning, Pak
Degree in
Subo.
economics from the University of Indonesia. Good morning, Bu Sri. And she also had an engineering degree in the industrial engineering from the Institute of Technology of Bandung. And currently, she is the head of the program at the program and the finance. And she will share with us her insights in terms of the digital transformation in Indonesia. So, and then before I give the time to Bu Sri for 15 minutes or so to provide her insight, I would also like to introduce the second speaker today. So then I will just introduce all of them at once, and then after that I'll just give both of them to give the insight. Now the second one is Pak Andrianus Hidijahu Besi. He is the CEO of the Julo, is digital companies. And Pak Andrianus has various experience in this overseas, in Boston, and then in the Virginia area in the US. And he has a mechanical degree, mechatronic from the University of Texas at Austin. And I think it's very interesting that he will share his experience and insight in the startup, especially in the digital technology companies. So with that, I will ask Bu Sri, time is yours. You have 15 minutes. And then after that is followed by Adrianus. And then after that, we will take a question and answer, or we have some discussions. Bu Sri, time is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Subowo. Yeah, I will start. I will share some presentation. Actually, what I will explain or I will share with all the audience now is about the policy of making Indonesia 4.0, which just launched or announced in 2018 by the president and also with the Ministry of Industry at the time. Yeah, I hope my screen already seen.
Yes, good.
Yeah. Okay. I will not explain about the history of industrial revolution or industrial transformation, as I assume that all the audience have learned or have many references that already know about the transformation process during the Revolution 1 until the Revolution Industry 4.0. So Indonesia is now facing the new era of Industry 4.0, and its implementation will have significant impact to our country. So that the Ministry of Industry has recognized Industry 4.0 potential in 2019 and launched Making Indonesia 4.0 to implement the Industry 4.0 strategy. This is the structure maybe, or like a building on what is Making Indonesia 4.0 strategy. Making Indonesia 4.0 have aspiration to become the 10th largest economy in the world by 2030. I'm sorry, not all of the slide here translated yet to English, because I just before I thought that it can be delivered either in English or Indonesia, but the organizer said that it should be delivered in English. So I try to translate some slides, but not yet finished. So to achieve the aspiration of becoming the 10th largest economy in the world by 2030, by regaining 10% of contribution of the net export from GDP, and also 2 times increase in productivity to cost, and 2% of R&D expenditure to GDP. Making Indonesia 4.0 is implemented through 10th National Priority Agenda, which we can see at the bottom. First is improve the flow of materials. Then the second one is redesign the industrial zone. The third is accommodate the sustainability standard. The fourth is empowering micro, small, and medium enterprises. The fifth, building national digital infrastructure, and then attract foreign investment, improve the quality of human resource. This is what we will focus on in the next slide. And the eighth is establishing an innovation ecosystem, implementing technology investment incentives, and the last is harmonization of rules and policies. To implement this 10th priority strategy, government has prepared 7 industrial sectors, which will be the main focus in making Indonesia 4.0. It consists of food and beverage industry, automotive sectors, chemical, textile and fashion, electronics, pharmacy, and medical devices sectors. All of these 7 sectors are expected to contribute 70% of total manufacturing to GDP, 65% of manufacturing export, and 60% of industrial workers. And this is the regulation that already launched or already issued by the government of Indonesia to support the Making Indonesia 4.0 program. First is the presidential regulation about the RPJMN, where the major project of one of the major project is about the expansion of the implementation of Industry 4.0. And then also we have the regulation of Ministry of Industry regarding the measurement of industrial readiness level in transforming toward Industry 4.0. And in the form of this implementation, we have INDI 4.0, which is Indonesia Industry 4.0 Readiness Index. And then we have also decree of the Minister of Manpower about concerning the Indonesian National Work Competency Standards as the reference of the competence of the workforce needed in forming managers, engineers, and also maintainers of industrial workforce. And actually there is another SKKNI or competency standard that already launched last year. It is about the lean manufacturing process and also have issued by the decree of the Minister of Manpower. Now, one of the 10th national priority I have informed before, the 7th, as if you remember, is about human resource. For this agenda, we have a Ministry of Industry have built PD 4.0 Center of Digital Industry 4.0. This is the government agency as part of Ministry of Industry that helps industries in Indonesia to transform towards Industry 4.0. PD also as a part of the national priority programs, which was launched in 2018, and it has a vision to become a one-stop solution in the adoption of Industry 4.0 in Indonesia, and also become an Indonesia 4.0 window to the world. PD 4.0 Central Building has located in Permata Hijau. Now we almost PD already launched by the end of last year 2020, but now we are still on the process of finishing the interior of the building with some activities already run. Consists of trainings, seminars, and conference. We expect that next year this building or this center will fully operational. This is the roadmap of PD 4.0 transformation, especially about the institution legal form. Since PD 4.0 already built by the end of 2019, it has finished the building structure at 2021, and then we launched it by the end of 2021, and we start the operation 2022 with some partners and some industry, collaborate with some industry, and we plan that in 2025 PD will become a new institution that it is like a private partner, public and private partnership, which has their own management, professional management, expand from the government, expand from the government agency now. So, sorry. Yeah. PD has 5 pillars or 5 services that we have. First is a showcase center. It is a place to physically see and experience the implementation of Industry 4.0. We have 2 factory and mini plant in the first floor of PD building. It is about automotive and food and beverage, and which will be set up in October this year by Toyota and also Indolacto. And then we have capability center. We have training rooms in the 5th floor to improve the human resource capability regarding Industry 4.0 from the CXO level until the frontliners. And then PD will also as an ecosystem for Industry 4.0, a place for all the Industry 4.0 stakeholders can share and work together in their business transformation process. The 4th services is delivery center to assist and give consultation for industry in adopting technology 4.0 and transform to Industry 4.0. And then the last, we have engineering and artificial intelligence center as a place to broker research, brokerage, and testbed to find solution from the industry pain point in their transformation journey. So this is our partners since the launch, since its launch, since PD launched in last year. By the end of last year, we already have 34 partners, consist of manufacturing sectors, technology provider, service providers, and also industrial estate. You can see here Jababeka, and also we have some university that already signed MOU with us, and we have Also, the Deutsche Messe Technology Academy, which just signed MOU with PD at the Hannover Messe event this year. We divided the partners, the 34 partners that PD already collaborate with in seven category, which is technology provider, and most of our partners are technology providers. And then we have industry users, which is Indolacto, Toyota, and YPTI. And then we also have a service provider and also consultant. And we have software provider, system integrator, and partner that also have competencies or a focus on the education and research, which is from the university and technology academy. And we have one industrial zone, which is Zababeka, that now in the process of building a fab lab in their industrial estate. So this is the facility that we can see in PD building in Permata Hijau. The vision of PD is as one-stop solution for Industry 4.0 adoption in Indonesia and window of Indonesia 4.0 to the world. This vision consists of two components: inward-looking as one-stop solution for Industry 4.0 adoption. It means to accelerate the Industry 4.0 implementation and also realize the productivity objectives in manufacturing sectors. And then the outward-looking vision is window of Indonesia 4.0 to the world. In this case, we want to showcase Indonesia 4.0 champions to the world and help meet the export objective through this PD. PD building have 8 floors. Each floor consists of each floor. You can see that the first floor is showcase center. We will have production line for ice cream that will be set up and built by the in PT Indolacto, and we have model factory for automotive, which will display the end-to-end process of digital production of Toyota and collaborate with YPTI. And then at the second floor, we have data center and command center. Then at the third floor, we have test bed lab and also research brokerage and certification body. In this test bed lab laboratory, we will have some facility that industry can use the facility to test their technology, a new technology that we implement in their shop floor. They can test it first in the PD to avoid if the technology then cannot work well in the factory. And then in the fourth floor, we have some laboratory. The automation, F&B, additive manufacturing, and automation, electronic, automotive. We already have it in PD, and you can see it while the two in red font, it is not yet ready, but we will build it with our partners. And then the fifth floor, we have capability center, which we have some rooms for trainings. The capacity is about 760 students. And then at the sixth floor, we have partnership working space. All our partners, the 34 partners, will have their own working space or office in the PD building also. And then we have Secretariat PD as our operational working space in the 7th floor, and other co-working space for startup and also breakout center at the 8th floor. This is the activity of PD in each 5 pillars or 5 services. In showcase, we have food and beverage and automotive. For the capability building, we have trainings for the CXO levels, the managers, and also the frontliners. And then in ecosystem, we will have some competition, collaboration, or a hackathon with all our partners. We will have some seminars and also best practices with sharing knowledge in the ecosystems. And then in delivery pillars, we will have INDI 4.0 assessment readiness level. And then we will have a field and forum to give consultation and assist the company to raise to achieve a higher INDI level by doing field and also forum. And we will also have the do-it-yourself delivery portal. So I tell it will because in this year, field and forum and do-it-yourself portal is still in the process of preparation because the PD building itself is still in the finishing stage of interior. And then the last pillar is engineering and AI center. We have research brokerage between the industry and a university or a research institute. We will have testbed and engineering for industry, and we will also have the artificial intelligence center. This is some of event that already held in PD. After the launch of PD, PD become the host of a site visit of Sherpa meeting, first Sherpa meeting of G20 at December of 2021. And just 2 months before, we also held a high-level roundtable business meeting that also joined or visit by the President of Federal State of Republic of Germany. And in carrying out its duties, PD also assists by some satellites scattered in several regions in Indonesia because we know Indonesia is an island, consists of many islands. And then we want that this center can also duplicate in other regions. So now we already have in Bandung for textile and fashion, and then automotive in our polytechnics in Jakarta. We have leather in Yogyakarta, also in our polytechnics, and for furniture in Kendal, Semarang, also in our polytechnics. So the four satellite that already exists is in our polytechnics, and we plan also to develop it in other industrial zone or other industry that already implement Industry 4.0, so that the program of Industry 4.0 transformation can be done by many people and many organizations or many industries. So I think this is the recap of all progress of making Indonesia 4.0 in Ministry of Industry. We have 703 manufacturing sectors that already take the self-assessment of INDI, and also 28 BUMN that already is done the INDI assessment. 45 industry have got the INDI award. It means they already at the stage of 2.5 until 3.5. At the average level is 3 out of 4. And then we have 8 lighthouse of Industry 4.0. 2 is the global lighthouse, which is Schneider and Petrosi, and 4 national lighthouse that is appointed by the Ministry of Industry, which is Pupuk Kaltim, PT Indolacto, PT Akobono, dan Infineon. And then we also have 108 industry that already have the industry transformation manager training. And also we have a program of eSmart small medium enterprise, small medium industries. We have held workshop and also seminars about the eSmart EKM, and many small medium industry has joined the workshop. And this is the capability center. The one center for digital industry is PD 4.0, and then 4 satellite at 4 polytechnics, and then we have 3 learning factories in our research institution or under the Ministry of Industry. And then we have training for transformation industry 4.0 that already there are many students or many participants from the industry sectors and also BUMN. So I think that's all of my presentation. I give it the time back to our moderator, Pak Subowo, please.
Thank you, Bu Sri Novalia. I think it's a very interesting presentations from the government sponsor activities for the Industry 4.0. So I think I'm sure that from the audience there are some questions, but please hold on your questions. I will just ask Pak Andrianus to give 15 minutes insights on the startup, especially in the digital technology. Pak Andrianus.
Thank you, Pak Subowo. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for having me here. Let me share my screen here. All right. So what I'm going to be talking about today is about the, I guess, some sharing about tech startup. Oh, actually, sorry. First of all, my name is Adrianus Itujobesi. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Julo. Julo is one of the digital lending companies in Indonesia. We've been around for the last 5 years. So when I was asked to, share a few topics for today, I thought what will be interesting to talk about, a little bit of sharing about my startup journey. Right, I'm a first-time founder, never done this before. It's a whole new area, scary at first, even scarier once you do it. But definitely a lot of learning in the process about what is tech startup, what's different about it, and what did I learn along the way, right? So maybe a little bit background about myself. So I started my, okay, yeah. So I started my education. I did my education in mechanical engineering, as mentioned earlier. I did my undergrad and master's in the US in University of Texas at Austin. But my first job was in a consumer credit card. Capital One is a credit card company. I was doing data and risk analytics. So it was very, very different from what I studied in school, right? And, frankly, there's a lot of, self-introspecting at that time. I did all of my studies in a particular degree, but what I was doing was completely unrelated. But nonetheless, I did that. I was with Capital One for about 6-7 years. From there, I joined eBay. eBay is an e-commerce company in the US. Maybe a lot of us here know about it. With eBay, I was doing more analytics, particularly in financial analytics. I was leading also the product and experimentation team at eBay. The company was based in San Jose, Silicon Valley. And then the last company that I joined was Signify. It's a mid-stage company. It's a startup, right? Unlike eBay and Capital One. So Signify was a startup, and there I was the head of product. What the company does, it was an alternative credit scoring company, which is where it ingested data from various sources, from alternative data. Particularly what we did there was using telco data. Telco data meaning, how you use your phone, right? Who do you talk to? Do you call or do you send SMS? Is it nighttime, email? How long do you talk? Is it outgoing, inbound, international roaming? All of those things, right? Based on those behavior, then we would produce different kinds of predictive outcome. The primary outcome being credit score, right? But we also produce it. We also use it to produce fraud score, marketing propensity, loyalty score, and so on, right? And that was sort of the turning point for me because I started my career in engineering, and particularly I was doing mechatronics for my master's. My thesis was in neural network and machine learning. So it's kind of nice to see the final look back to Signify when I finally got to use all of that skills and techniques that I learned back in school. Okay, so after Signify, Signify, by the way, it was in the US, but all of the operations of the business was in Latin America. So I spent a lot of time in Brazil, Mexico, Chile, Argentina, Peru, all those countries, right? But it wasn't long before I finally realized that, look, the problem that the people were facing in Latin American countries, South America, Central America, are no different than a lot of the problems that people are facing in Indonesia, right? Which is basically the underserved segment of the population do not have access to financial services, primarily credit, right? So that's what we did at Signify by enabling that scoring capabilities, and we help banks and other financial institution companies to extend credit to serve these customers, right? But eventually, for me, rather than doing those in other countries, I might as well just do it in my home country, right? I mean, it sounds logical. So that's kind of what I did. 2016 was when I pulled the plug and moved back here with my co-founder. And since then, the journey has been amazing, right? I mean, I'm not going to go through this one by one, but from 2016, when we first moved here, all the way until 2022, many things have happened. Again, keeping in mind the context that this was our first company ever. We've never done this. So there's a lot of guessing, a lot of, making educated decisions as much as we can, but in some cases, bets and gambles when you don't have sufficient decisions in order to build the business, right? Through the years, we have secured multiple rounds of funding. We are, of course, fully licensed by OJK. We have a couple of key partnerships built along the way. We have won multiple awards. And most importantly, we have been able to come back here and touch the lives of the people. We've been able to serve the customers, not just in terms of how much we're able to channel to the market, up to 4 trillion in 2021 in transactions. And this year, likely we will double that, right? But we have also served more than 1 million customers, actually benefiting from our products, having access to credit to improve and to change their life. Right? That was the most rewarding thing about it. And we have a solid set of investors also, right? Ourselves being a startup, we have to be invested. We run on VC fund. Some of these names may be familiar. East Ventures, of course, they're one of the most prolific investors in the market. MDI is coming out of Telkom, right? Is a venture arm of Telkom. Central Capital Ventura, there's the VC arm of VC, and the other names. On top of SkyStar Capital and Credit Saison, who led our Series A and Series B rounds. Now, as I look through this, like 5-6 years after we started, right? It's I'm able to look at this with a great sense of relief that, oh, phew, all right. I mean, we got to this point. But 2 nights ago, as I was preparing some of these slides, I was digging up my older decks, right? And this is what I found. This was a slide from 2016 when we first started, right? One of my pitch decks, a slide from one of my pitch decks, to kind of show, okay, this is where we are, what we've done, where we want to be. And I realized one thing here is that it was very difficult to look very far in the future, Right? We started in 2016. I was only providing a view up until the end of Q4 at that time. Right? At that time, when this was created, it was at the end of Q3 2016. Right? There's so many things that we wanted to do in our backlog. Of course, so many great ideas, but making it happen is really the hardest thing, and I think that's where I want to bridge into the context of tech startup. Right? What is a tech startup first and foremost? How does it differ from conventional business? Tech startup versus conventional business. Okay. So first, let's look at the when a company is first created. What is the immediate priority of the company? For conventional business, is always profitability. Right? You want to be profitable immediately, even from the first month of being in operations, if not in the first quarter, but at least in the first year. Whereas for tech startup, to be profitable immediately is not the objective, rather market scale is what it wants to achieve. Secondly, the risk reward profile of the business itself. Conventional business tends to be more stable, low risk, but on the flip side, it's also low return. Tech startup, highly volatile, success rate is very, very low. Very high risk, right? But the ones that make it may come out with very high return. The fuel source, what fuels the company? Conventional business, because of its profitable nature, it can be profit funded, right? So every month it makes money, it makes profit. That profit is used to help grow the company for the subsequent month, subsequent year, right? Whereas tech startup, because it is not profitable, it has to continue raising money from VC, venture capital firms, to fund the growth of the company. Next timeline to scale. When I say scale here is when will it become massive, right? I mean, we've heard all the terms of unicorn companies, decacorn, and so on. I mean, not that it has any particular meaning. I mean, it's just a nice round number, right? Unicorn meaning you're a $1 billion company, or $10 billion company for decacorn. But so how long does it take for a conventional company, conventional business to reach that kind of scale? It's gonna take decades, right? A very, very long time, even if it's gonna reach that point at all, because many and most do not even get there. Whereas for tech startup, if they get there, they will get there much faster, within 5 to 10 years. And we, of course, know a lot of the homegrown champions in the market, right? Gojek, Tokopedia, Traveloka, Bukalapak, and so on. They're able to reach the status that they're in less than 10 years. And lastly, the ownership of the company, right? Conventional businesses tends to be wholly owned by the owner, right? Whoever that builds the business tends to own it completely, whereas tech startup, no, it's a pizza that is split like 20 different ways or 50 different ways, many stakeholders in there, with the VC being majority owner. Now let's look at the profit loss nature of a conventional business, right? Assuming that this is year per year, right? The blue bar is revenue. Revenue tends to grow consistently, right? And of course, there's some expense portion out of it, but every year it is expected for it to make a profit, and it grows steadily, right? So revenue, expense, and profit here. And as a result, you see profit is growing linearly. That's a very common nature of conventional business. It is immediately profitable from the get-go, from year one, and the growth is linear. It's great. I mean, you make a consistent profit. Don't get me wrong. This is not about which one is better or worse. It's just the different nature of the two. Whereas for tech startup, the approach is a little bit different, right? You see that in the early days, expense was massive, right? The orange bar here, there's a much bigger component. Revenue is much smaller. And as a result, in the early years, losses are great, the red bar here. And that's why we often hear the term bakar uang, right? Oh, company bakar uang, they're not making money. But that's just the nature of it. But you see that the revenue curve is growing exponentially, whereas the expense curve is rather linear. So at some point, the profit we'll start seeing profit. And once profit is being seen, it will grow exponentially as well, right? The green bar is basically blue minus orange. And there's the big difference, right? In the early days, it is hugely loss-making, but once it's profitable, it's going to be profitable in a big way, right? It is exponential growth and much larger profit at scale. So, I want to talk a little bit about why, for any of the member of the audience that at some point maybe want to consider, I want to have a startup of my own. Many reasons to do it. I think these are the wrong reasons to do it, because I want to get rich, or I want to be my own boss, or because, it's fun. I mean, it can be. So I want to get rich, right? Just for context here, the majority of companies that seek funding never got funded, right? 96% of companies that seek funding never even got funded, okay? So what does that mean? It means that a lot of effort that go into building the company, building the technology, the app, the website, whatever it may be, but people don't even use it, right? Now, this is data from the Play Store. Out of 3.5 million apps in the Play Store, Google Play Store and App Store of Apple Store, almost 70% only got downloaded less than 1,000 times, right? And then the ones that got downloaded more than 1,000 times, they have very few active users, right? Because people can download and not use it. And, subsequent one is very minimal retention, or no revenue, or no profit, and so on. So the ones that can finally make it, build an app that can actually drive traffic and customers actually love it, stay on the platform, and it drives revenue and profit, is very few, right? It's only 0.5% of the apps. So this is just to put some sense into, if the reason is, I want to get rich, this is going to be the quick way to do it, it's a shortcut, I think it's absolutely wrong, The second is, I want to be my own boss. This is definitely also not true. As you can see in the previous slide, the many investors that we have in the company, those guys are my bosses, okay? When I worked for a corporate company, I only had one boss that I need to work for, worry about. But now I have many bosses that I have to deal with. Regulators are also my bosses. I have to comply with them. I have to follow their instructions and so on. And lastly, it's fun. Yes, it is fun. It can be fun, but it's not always going to be fun. I think we should not be naive about it. You may have heard or read about it. Elon Musk said that starting a company is like eating glass and staring into the abyss. It is a long and painful journey, right? Full of, without cliche, full of pain and tears. So it's not all fun and game. Okay. Now, those are the wrong reasons to start a company, and particularly on the first point about success is actually not guaranteed, right? So if you look at the Indonesian, particularly in fintech, because I come from fintech industry, this screenshot I got from 2017 or 2018, right? Many brands here, but if we just look at them one by one, I think at least, maybe even half of this are no longer around, or maybe if they're around, they're at a much lower volume that may not even be able to sustain themselves. Right? In lending business itself, in digital lending, we have at one point there were 160 different companies, registered at OJK. Now there's only 102 exactly. Right? So about 40% have also shut down and didn't make it. Okay. I mean the point here is just to say that none of this is easy, is granted or guaranteed on a silver platter for us. So if we want to do it, what are the right reasons to? Success or otherwise, I mean, that's a byproduct in my view. Number one, because there are real problems that we want to solve. Okay, it has to be real problems faced by real customers. It's not of FWP, first world problems, right? Made up things that people don't really need it, but let me come up with a new, photo sharing app for people so they can share on social media, blah, blah, blah. I mean, look, there's so many of those already. No one is dying for another photo sharing app. And there are many examples of this, particularly in the US, in the Western world, that the problems that fintech companies are solving, that startup companies are solving are no longer real problems. The second, which I think is one of the most important, is because you're passionate about it, right? Because yes, when it's fun, we do it. But when it's not fun, are you still going to do it? Right? If you're passionate, truly passionate about the cause, then we will continue doing it. And then lastly, because you have something within you, whether it is the skills, whether it is the drive, whether it is even the connections, the education, the whatever else it might be, that make you unique to be the solver of that problem. Okay. But I would say that this is optional, right? Even if there's nothing absolutely unique about you, you don't have 15, 20 years of experience in a particular industry to be the trailblazer, it's okay. I think that can be replaced by passion. As long as we're passionate, it's okay. I mean, we look at a lot of the successful founders of the Indonesian companies here, to name some of the companies earlier, right? Traveloka, Tokopedia, Gojek, and so on. I don't think any of the founders are particularly expert in those fields before they started those, right? It's not like William was, an e-commerce expert, or Nadim or Anthony was the ride-hailing expert, and so on. But it is the passion that continue driving them forward. So yeah, I mean, hobby is something that you do when you have free time, but passion is what you still do, even when you don't have free time, even when it's painful, even when when it hurts to do it, right? But you're still very passionate about it. Okay, so maybe that's all that I want to share for now. We have a Q&A session after this. I will pause here and pass it back to you, Possible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Andrianus. It's a very insightful discussions. It's very interesting. And I see in the chat box, there's questions. So before to do that, I think I just want to wrap up on some of the discussion. I think from Bu Sri is a very interesting, see how the government try to facilitate this industry 4.0. And in it, obviously, there will be, obviously, is the digital transformations. And then from Andrianus is looking at what it takes to have these tech startups. So with that, let me see, there is a question. Okay, this is coming from Alex. For venture capital funded startup, what about the values of the founder and the business? Can it be keep it up?
Yeah.
You want to respond to that, Pak Andrianus?
Sure.
Or either?
Yeah, no, happy to answer. I assume the question from Alex here is about the values, as in the mission and vision of the company, not about the valuation, which is the market valuation of the company. So no, this is very important. And I think I see where you're going with this, because in a conventional business, it is wholly owned. You have full control of the company. Oftentimes it's a family business, is being passed down from the parents to the kids, and and so on, the siblings. But being a VC funded company, the stake of when the company was first created, of course, me and my co-founder, we own 100% of the company, right? As investors slowly start to come in, we don't own 100% anymore, right? It comes down to 80, 70, 50, and then below majority now, okay? And then now we have other investors on our cap table. So the question is, how do we make sure that the values of the company, I think also the vision and mission of the company is still maintained? This is where I think that it requires some sort of a supply and demand equilibrium in the market with regards to supply of investors and demand, sufficient number of demands from companies. What I mean by that is, if there's sufficient number of investors in the market, then it sort of gives you the opportunity, the upper hand in some ways, to choose who you want to be your investors. Who do you want to be on your cap table, right? Who do you want to share your company with? Now, we have had to decline investor offers in the past, because we feel that maybe they're not going to add as much value, or maybe we feel that what they want out of this transaction is something else. Or maybe even the reputation of the investor may not be exactly what we're looking for. Okay, so now, but we're able to do that only if there's sufficient number of investors in the market. If you only have one offer on the table, of course, it's going to be difficult, right? You kind of have to take what's offered to you. So it is important to see who you're, when we pitch to the investors, it is in fact a two-way street. It is them essentially interviewing us and also us interviewing them, right? Who are you? Where is this money from? I mean, who's behind you? Who's your LP in the investment? What can you bring to the table? Because it's not just about the dollar amount that we want, but it is the everything else beyond that. Can you be a thought partner for us? Will you still help us when things are going difficult, or is this purely just transaction for you? Right? So I think that the short answer is that we, the founders, must be very perceptive. We must assess the investors as well to make sure that they are aligned with our values, and it is absolutely within our right to do that. If you don't feel good about it, we can decline.
Okay, good. So the next question, Pak Adrianus, we see on the chat room, they said that we read a lot of news that recently the venture capitals are starting to shift from funding startups because they are not seeing any foreseeable profitability. Even the unicorns such as, GoTo and so forth, is predicting that they're most likely still be losing money for the next 5 years. So what's your opinion on this, and how long can startup maintain the strategy of the burning cash? As you know, the recent study also shows that a lot of these startups are failing going forward with their businesses.
Yeah. Now, great question. And this is definitely what we're seeing a lot in the last 1 year, particularly in the Western world. All of this is driven by the looming recession there, higher interest rate, inflation, and so on. So as a result, the liquidity of capital supply is getting harder. It's getting a bit more frozen, right? It's not as liquid. And so with less amount of capital to be invested, the VC investors will have to make a smarter decisions on which companies to invest in. And of course, there are a lot of companies in good times when there's a lot of money going everywhere. It's sort of like, investors are super gung-ho, and companies are also very bullish on where they think they're gonna go, right? But the essence of the business, we cannot stray away from that, which is what's different about being a conventional business or being a startup business. All of these must reach profitability, right? With any kind of business venture, we must be profitable. If it's not profitable, what's the point, right? So the pressure that we're seeing a lot now is that you must have a clear path to profitability. So gone are the days when companies can say that, oh, I don't have a real way of making revenue. I'll just get a lot of customers. I get market share. I have high GMV, GTV, even though I don't have a profitable unit economics. Those times are gone, right? Instead, investors are much more selective in requiring you to have a clear path to profitability. But again, not to say that the mindset is shifting towards conventional business, because it is very different. The risk reward expectation from these investors are not like the conventional business investor, right? So I cannot speak to GoTo, obviously, but for what we do in the company is that we have been laser focused, and we continue to be laser focused on our clear path to profitability. We pay attention to our unit economics very, very closely, meaning for every transaction that you enable on your platform, whether you're selling a product, an e-commerce company, you're facilitating a transport as a ride hailing, or you're enabling a lending transaction to happen, every single transaction at its essence must be profitable, right? Now, but it's okay if as a company, your bottom line is not profitable yet, because you have overhead that you're still working towards, right? Working against. But with profitable unit economics, when you scale the business 100 times larger, 1,000 times larger, that margin will be 1,000 times larger as well, and it will be enough to more than cover your expenses. That's how you get profitability. So, I mean, short answer here is that it is going to be a tough time for companies who do not pay particular attention to their path to profitability.
And Janus, I think in this regard with the question, I just want to get your view in terms of there's a lot of startups are failing. Is that because that they don't really see the real problems and they just following the others and thinking that if they follow and some of the successful, then they could also be successful? So do you think that is one of the issue, or the issue is more on the uniqueness of their products? Because when you're talking about the lending, everybody doing lending, right? Fintechs. So how differentiate one successful fintech and the others?
Yeah, I think number one, there has to be a real problem that we're solving. So on your first point, possible, if companies are simply just following, oh, you know, I see this company became a unicorn, I also want to do that, right? Well, is that a real problem that you want to address? Meaning that problem may be real, but is there still room there? You know, because if I'm gonna do a ride-hailing company now, forget it. Like I will fail, guaranteed, right? Or an e-commerce company, I will guaranteed I will fail. But unless if there's truly something unique that you have, kind of my third point earlier, that you're uniquely competent in this regard, because markets get disrupted all the time, right? We have you know, I mean, if we take the smartphone industry, I mean, Nokia, BlackBerry, and so on, and then of course they got disrupted. And then with social media is another one, right? These things always change, from MySpace, Friendster, and then Facebook, and then now TikTok, and then Be Real, Instagram, and so on. So if there's something truly unique in what you have to offer, then you will make it. Now, specifically to your question on lending business, what has to be unique is the ability to mitigate risk, right? It is easy to give money to everyone, right? But getting it back is the hard one, right? Because how are you going to make sure that someone is going to pay you back? This is not the business of a transactional business. For example, in e-commerce, when I sell something on the platform and someone else buys that, at that point of transaction, I get your money, you get my product, transaction ends. But in lending is not like that at all. When I give the money, I don't get anything, right? And if the person pays back over, let's say, 9 months, when they pay back next month, the month after, month 3, month 4, month 5, I'm still not making my money back, right? Maybe at month 7 or 8, only I got my principal back. And then in the last month, that's where my real revenue comes in, right? So it is very hard to do that. There's a lot of, I didn't touch very much on this, but there's a lot of predictive analytics that we'll have to go into. And this is kind of what I was doing before with credit scoring, you know, the ML and AI piece comes in the picture.
Okay, so I think that will answer the question of Doni Prasetyo when he asked that how Julio managed the non-performing loans. So obviously it will be coming from your predictive analytics that you have the experience and the technology prior to setting up this Julio. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, it really comes down to the risk mitigation of the business. But at the end of the day, in each business, there's different costs to the business. In lending, the cost of business is the credit loss. I mean, it is very much the nature of the business. No lending business will have 100% repayment. That's guaranteed, right? Just like if we have a restaurant, the cost of business is the raw materials, you know, the rice, the ingredients, the food, and all of that. In lending, the cost of business, aside from cost of fund, the interest that we have to pay to our capital provider is also the credit losses.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's very interesting. Now, the next question is basically from Irham, who's talking about how you define what is a startup company.
Yeah, I think a startup company, it is synonymous with, it has to be tech-based, right? So we just say startup company, but we really mean tech startup company. And the real if there's just one difference about it, one unique characteristic of it, it is the scale and speed of growth of it, right? How is different from a mom and pop business? Let's take a restaurant, for example. If I have a restaurant and my objective is for the restaurant to be profitable, so I can have some passive income from that, I can use it for my personal expenses, for my kids to go to school and so on. That's great, right? And as it grows bigger and bigger, I'll be thinking, oh, maybe I'll open another branch, another store somewhere else in a different part of the city. The year after, I'll open another branch somewhere else, and so on and so forth, right? And that's great. After 5-10 years or more, I'll have maybe 10 branches, 10 stores, and that would be a great business, right? The difference with startup company, the rate of growth is not going to be like that. You will want to build, from the moment you open your first store, by the next 6 months, you will want to have your next 10 stores already. Right. Next year, you want to have 200 stores already open in Indonesia. And the following year, maybe 10,000 stores. This is the story of McDonald's, KFC, Burger King, all of these chains that grew massively globally, right? Which is very different from, of course, there are many restaurants, warung, and so on around our homes, for example, right? It's a very different concept, very different mindset to the business. So it is about the speed of growth. Now, but as I said earlier, of course, when you grow so fast, the risk of a crash is also much bigger, right? When you're going fast in a car, you can crash much higher likelihood, which is why the success, the potential success is also lower, right? But it goes back to the risk-reward profile that I said earlier. High risk, but also high reward.
Okay, thank you. So now I would like to a bit shift to Bu Sri. There's a questions, but we will get back later on some of you that asked to the Pak Adrianus, yeah. But let's go shift to Bu Sri. There's a question from Solidio saying that please explain the government roadmap for digital industry in Indonesia. Is the government pushing full speed for local digital industry ecosystems? Bu Sri, you may want to elaborate on that. And probably I just add another twist to it, is listening to what the questions that today, especially with the startup, how the government through this PD fit into the overall picture of the tech startup in Indonesia.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Pak Subowo. I will try to answer the questions. Actually, maybe not focus on the digital industry, because Ministry of Industry regulation or policy is expecting to raise the manufacturing sectors actually, but of course startups and also digital industry also be part of the manufacturing sectors. About the roadmap, in the previous slide I have shared, we have 10 national priority that we build, the national priority agenda that we would have to achieve the aspiration to be tenth of global economic in 2080. First is the priority is to improve the flow of material. This is of course very related to manufacturing sectors, because in manufacturing sectors we face that supply for the manufacturing or industries is not sustained. So to improve the sustainability, Ministry of Industry now build a material center to make sure that the consistency of the supply to the manufacturing process is can be fulfilled. And then also the next is about industrial zone. We redesign the industrial zone and also build a digital connectivity between the industrial zone. And then about the sustainability standard, now we face the challenge of global challenge, especially from European countries that about emission carbon, and it is national issues, global issues, I think, because in Hannover Messe last 2 months and also in the G20 event that Indonesia right now is the presidential of the G20, we also focus in this matter because about emission. Therefore, in the emission, the roadmap of industry, for example, automotive industries, is prepared to develop low emission carbon cars and electric vehicles. As you may know that now many electric vehicles factory is built in Indonesia, and also raise the minimum content of biofuel in the vehicle. And for the small medium enterprises, and might also include in it is startup or startup. We startup, but I think next startup will also have a collaboration with PD. I will share before after. And for the small medium industry, we build e-commerce platform, and we also do some campaigns to the national campaigns to make the awareness of the people, of the citizen, to use the Indonesian local products, and also give many incentives to the startups and small medium enterprise to develop and their business. Incentive in I mean assistance and helps of from the government in like a technology bank or access to the financial. And I think Julo is also part of application that can be used or can be help people in developing their business. And then also about in digital infrastructure. Now we build the 5G and also many other infrastructure digital that we collaborate with the Ministry of Information and Communication. And I think we will focus on the PD as part of the national priority in the agenda of improve the quality of human resource. In PD, we have the ecosystem, as you may see before that around the 34 partners of PD, we have also the many startups and also what do we call it? Startup builders. We have startup builder from the Swiss local with collaboration with Swiss company, and through that through this community or ecosystem, we do also empower them with activities that industry can they can go into industry to help to solve their problem. For example, PD, many companies that want to transform their business, they come to PD, and then we will assess the pain point of the industry, and then what technology they need to improve the pain point, and then we will connect that with the technology provider or service provider or accelerator either it is a kind of startup or a bigger company, then they can have another customer for the the startup can have a new customer to link between the industry manufacturing sectors as a users with the technology provider, include them a startup inside. That is what we do in PD in developing the startup in this case, and also of course for all the manufacturing industries. Yeah, I think that is I can share, Pak Subowo.
Yeah, I have a follow-up on questions on that, Sri. Mentioned one of the activities is providing the e-commerce platform for the SMEs and the startups. So, in a sense, how you position PD in terms of this Industry 4.0, meaning that you positioning PD as a player, or as a facilitators, or as a regulators, or as all of the above?
PD mostly as the facilitator for the company and the manufacturing sectors, and also as the ecosystem for the Industry 4.0 stakeholders. So PD consists of industry users that need assistance to transform the business, and also PD consists of technology provider and service provider. It is the ecosystem of all the Industry 4.0 players. So in PD as the ecosystem, PD will have more bond with all the stakeholders. I mean, in their ecosystem, all the stakeholders can share their experience and share their technology, or share their capability to help each other. That is what PD doing as the ecosystem. And also as the ecosystem, PD will develop all the partners inside PD, and also PD as the facilitator for all the industry user, or also peoples from educations to learn about Industry 4.0 transformation.
Okay, so obviously PD is not the player, because when you say the player, meaning that in some way there will be crisscrossing in terms of the competition, right? If you're providing a digital ecosystem, then other company also provide the digital ecosystem. So how you differentiate between PD and for those companies that already providing this digital ecosystem?
Yeah, PD will be the home for all the digital ecosystem. So
when you mean a home, what do you mean, Bu Sri?
Yeah, PD now is part of the government. So PD is a government program to help industries to accelerate the transformation. So we know that there are many digital ecosystem now, and we also talk with some other digital ecosystem, and I forgot. I think Plug and Play, and also part of it, they have digital ecosystem, and they connect with us to make the ecosystem bigger. And of course, in PD, as PD is also part of government as a regulator, and also a government as a facilitator. PD provide the facility that our ecosystems or our partners can use to help them doing their business. So in PD building, we have some laboratory. For example, we have a laboratory for the industry, manufacturing sectors that want to implement new technology to their factory or the plant. Of course, in implementing a new technology, they will face a risk whether the technology will run well or not. And then PD provide a test bed for that, so that they can do the testing for the new technology in PD. And then if it run well, they can implement it in their factory. This is what PD as a government role to facilitate the industry, to help them in doing such research or tests. Before, why PD is built, actually it is also a benchmark to other countries, and also what we learned from many manufacturing companies in Indonesia. For example, Toyota, in testing their device or their components, they have to go to Singapore, for example. And then with PD, we provide all the facilities to that it's what PD role to the manufacturing sectors to improve or accelerate the transformation.
Okay, I think that's a very encouraging insights from the government establishing this PD. So then hopefully most of the manufacturing will do the testing in Indonesia rather than testing in other part of the world. Now, the next question is basically to Adrianus. How do you get the idea to create a startup and determine the products that can be sold in the market and get funding from the investors? And the second one, I think, is related to this. What do investors look for in a startup?
Thank you, Basubo. It's a very heavy question. Yeah, no, I think everything has to start with a problem statement, right? And this is extremely important because oftentimes, particularly us coming from the technology space, we have the solutions. We can think of solutions. We can build the devices, we can build the tools, we can build the apps. But are those things going to address real problems or not? Who will care about this, right? So the metaphor is like having a hammer looking for nails, right? If you're holding a hammer, but there's no nails around, then what are you going to do? You'll just start smacking everything, right? You sort of make things up, right? But if there are real nails there, then you assess, well, what kind of tool is suitable for this? Maybe it's a hammer, maybe it's a screwdriver, maybe your shoe may work, right? So, and then how many of such nails are there, right? How many people are actually need this kind of, are facing this problem? So having a clear problem statement is absolutely clear, absolutely important. For me, as I mentioned, when I first, with me and co-founder, when we first started the company, we were still in the US, right? And it was frankly quite difficult to do that because we're not in the market. I mean, the good thing is that we're Indonesians. Of course, we grew up here. So we kind of know the market a little bit. But what I would think would be much easier is if you're actually right in the market, if you're actually dealing with those people on a daily basis. You know, suppose you want to come up with a solution for, I don't know, UMKM, right? For them to have an easier way to something to solve their logistic problems, or stock sourcing or whatever it may be, right? It'll be difficult. It will be difficult to design such a product, such a solution for this, if you're not even sitting there, if you're not even interacting with these warung owners, the merchants, getting your hands dirty, right? So that's the first thing I want to say, right? You need to be very clear about the problem statement, but the problem statement should not be derived out of a theoretical exercise. but something that you should actually see and do yourself, right? Now, once you got that part done, this is the fun part, how to come up with a solution for that. You know, I think all of us here, the tech, from the tech community, this is fun, right? I mean, we're naturally problem solvers, but the task is how to come up with the best problem that is the simplest, that is the most scalable, and ideally something that no one has already done it, right? Because if it's so obvious and everyone is already doing it, well, then there's nothing else that we bring to the table, right? This is the most fun, I would say, but also the most tricky, how to come up with a unique solution. On the question about, oh, go ahead.
On the investors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was gonna add. So on the question about the investors, in the early stage of the company, of course, these two things that I said earlier is important. How big is the market? What do you have? What do you bring to the table as a founder? But I think the most important thing for early stage company, back when we were starting the angel investors, the seed rounds that we closed, I think it comes down to the soft skills. I would say by soft skills, I mean is keeping in mind that companies can pivot all the time, right? Everyone's pitch deck always shows like, oh, we'll be $1 billion company in 5 years, you know, but that's the big dreams, right? Now, imagine yourself being the investor. There's these guys, you know, presenting to you, and they talk to many people, hundreds of people every month, right? And I can guarantee there's no kind of business model that they have not seen before, right? When I pitch to them, they have seen what I have to present like 10 times already, maybe for that week, right? But it really comes down to who you are. You know, what kind of person are you? What are you made of? Are you truly passionate on this? When I invest in you, the first difficulty that you face, are you just going to give up? I mean, it's not your money, it's my money, right? As an investor. So can I really trust you that you will continue fighting for this, you know, with tears and blood, you will continue fighting for this to make it happen. You know, if it doesn't happen, it's fine. I mean, that's just the nature of the investment world, but at least we each give our best in this. So I think there's a lot of that investors want to see in you, the grit, the perseverance, and the persistence of that. Of course, it has to be coupled with the 2 points earlier, you know, a real problem being solved and you actually bring something to the table. And this last piece is about the passion, is about the grit.
Yeah, I think what Adrian was saying is true because back then I had some work experience in the venture capital, not from the startup, but from the funders' perspective. And what Adrianus was saying is true. So especially the angels investors, they don't really look at your financial projections. We only mostly we're focusing on the personality of the founders and the grit, as what Adrian is saying, the grit and the passion of the founders. And of course, the idea should be also something that is new. But I think it's more importantly is what the Adrian say is on the human side of it. Right, Adrianus?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Because like those venture capital, they can see people like 40, 50 proposal on the weekly basis, and probably only one, if that's lucky enough to get really get the attention to them. And in fact, usually that we did not want to see any pitch deck that was done by any consulting that for the initial. They would like to know the founders and meet the founder directly. Is that fair statement, Andrianus?
That's exactly right, Basibo. Okay. In the early days, it's all about the founders. Now, as the company has advanced more and more, I mean, particularly the big unicorns and decacorns, now is so much more about the business. Show me your numbers, right? Show me your financial statements, show me your profitability and so on. But in the early days, it is absolutely about the founders.
Okay, now next there's questions or comment from Pak Doni to Bu Sri. Ibu Sri, as I know, Estonia is the most advanced digital country, and then Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Nigeria, and Korea with Topis projects. Those countries have spectacular pilot projects. Now, his question to Bu3 is PD 4.0 is comparable with them?
Yeah, thank you, Pak Subowo. So, as okay, Pak Doni,
Yeah.
questions, answering Pak Doni question, maybe I will explain a little more about PD. PD is Center for Industrial Transformation, or Industrial Transformation and Digitalization, which focus on the manufacturing sectors. Of course, because it is focused on the manufacturing sectors at this time, because it is built by the Ministry of Industry. And why manufacturing sectors is important in the economic of Indonesia, because manufacturing is the key driver of the economic growth until now. Manufacturing sectors contribute almost 19th to our GDP. So regarding the question about the project in, for example, Topis in Korea, it is kind of in the I think it's about the transportation, yeah, and of course in the government regulation, or in the government planning nationally, it is also we also have the we also have a roadmap for that, and I don't know much about IKN because I think it is the Ministry of Planning, National Planning, yeah, who plan the IKN. But we know that we heard that IKN already adopt concept of smart city, and comparing PD to another project in other countries, PD in its mission as the as a one-stop solution for transformation of Industry 4.0, we can compare it to, for example, in Singapore, they have ARTC or A-Star. That is also a digital capability center for the manufacturing sectors, including the human resource and also the research. They can consult and bring their problem to ARTC, and also in Venice, Italy, and also in Aachen in German. That which is this PD or this ecosystem is help manufacturing sectors to improve or to transform their production process with digitalization to improve their productivity, because when they increase their productivity, they can then expand their investment. They can invest more to invest more and develop the business, and of course it will bring benefit to our economy. And PD, the manufacturing sectors is the users, and PD become the ecosystem of the users, and also the what do we call it, partners and contributor. So in PD, we have the technology provider, service provider that will also, we empower them to develop this industry. So what PD do in this case, PD is not only connecting the technology provider with the industry, but also PD build the ecosystem to make this transformation process running well and also can be controlled, and government can see what is the real problem, what is the government need in issuing a new regulation to improve the improvement or the productivity of the industry. So that is actually what PD means to our manufacturing sectors.
Interesting.
Yeah, I hope it can answer the questions. But if yeah, maybe if there is any other information, we also of course invite the SGU and all its members to visit PD and see what we have in PD, what is the ecosystem of PD, and also what we can do together in accelerate the transformation of Industry 4.0 in Indonesia.
Okay, thank you, Bu Sri. I think I just want to follow up on this question from Pak Doni. Usually in a country when they establish this kind of things like the ecosystem for the Industry 4.0, it's true that Industry 4.0 focusing on the manufacturing, but when people talk about the ecosystem, so obviously that is not only the manufacturing, that will include the supply, the value chains of those manufacturing. So how this PD integrate, because Bu Sri was talking about that PD is more focused on, because as the Minister of Industry, right? So my question is, does it mean that, for example, when we talk about tourism, which could be part of the ecosystem of the manufacturing? Because nowadays, when we talk about digitalization, when we talk about disruptive and so forth, obviously there is a very thin line in terms of separating one industry into the other industry. So if the PD objective is to provide this an ecosystem for the manufacturing, should it be also looking at, because you mentioned about the ecosystem. Ecosystem is not only one, right? Ecosystem is the integratedness or the interconnectivity within this a big activities, especially manufacturing. You have a sourcing of the raw material, you have all the subcontractor and things like that, including some of the digital technology. There's product and service. How this really PD integrate those things?
Yeah, of course, Pak Subowo, manufacturing sectors is the user. I mean, we have to see the objective of its industry, right? Technology provider or startups, they want to find a user who use their technology, and then the manufacturing sectors as the user will need them, the technology or the service provider, to help solve their problem in the manufacturing sectors. In problems in manufacturing sectors, of course, it is an end-to-end process from the supply chain at the beginning until the delivering process, and also after sales, about of course. And digitalization of this process is what PD want to build. So PD not only develop the vertical integration in the process of manufacturing or production system, but also the horizontal integration from the supplier to the manufacturing and also to the market. In this process, of course, there are many industries, companies include in this process. And that is what we do in assessing an industry. I mean, manufacturing sectors, for example, who comes to PD to inform us about their problem, then we will assess what is actually the problem in their company. Is it at the supply chain process? Is it at the manufacturing or factory stages, or it is at the delivery? And in all of this end-to-end process, we, with all the partners, with the startup, with the accelerator technology provider, or other research institute, do after assessing the pain point, we will develop which technology will be the solution for this problem. That is the ecosystem doing. That is the ecosystem of PD doing. So digital industry, of course, it means in a company that create a digital technology that can help in the manufacturing sectors to improve their productivity. So in this ecosystem, all the players of digital transformation is included in it, but the manufacturing sectors will be the user of the main user for the end, or the main user for the services. The users mean not only about that they only have get benefit on it, but also the ecosystem, of course, get benefit on it. For example, when the startup helps give their solution to the users, the company, of course, it will be their market. And that is how this ecosystem then together grow together, not only the manufacturing sectors, but all the ecosystem of digital transformation, it will grow up together.
Okay, thank you, Bu Sri. Is there any other questions from the audience that you would like to ask either Pak Adrianus or Bu Sri? I think we still have a couple minutes time. Okay, if not, I have one question to Bu Sri from the perspective of the stakeholders, let's say the people here. What is the most challenging from your view when the government plan to have this PD?
The most challenging of PD right now is actually the legal aspect. I mean the institution, because PD now is still part of government institution. So PD, you know that in government or government sectors, there are many rules about managing revenue, for example. Actually, PD in other countries that have similar with PD, for example, RTC and MXD or other in other countries, they are actually public-private partnership. In this concept, public-private partnership, they can manage their business by themselves, by their institution, with all the ecosystem, all the partners, while PD now is still part of the government, means PD cannot receive any revenue from the users, but of course for the operational it has to manage its, I mean, in the business way, the industry users that come to PD to solve the problem, and they connect with the ecosystem of PD, PD and their ecosystem, they will they get benefit and also pay some amount to for the operational of PD. That is what we cannot do right now. And PD is still now depend on the government budget, and this is not what we want to be. This is not kind of a sustained institution if it is, or if it is always depend on the government budget, it will not sustain. And to make it sustain, we plan to transform the legal institution to become like a public-private partnership, or a government, or if it is a government institution, it will become a BLU. If you know, BLU is it's like it's a unit, but it can manage their own program with their manage all the cost and revenue in their own. So they not will depend on the government. So that is concept of PD in the long term, to become a sustained institution, then can help all the industries in the transformation process.
Okay, thank you. So I think we are going into the end of the program, but before that, I will let each of you to have some say for 2 or 3 minutes each on after we hear about the questions and the discussions. One is on the perspective of the how to start the startup companies, and then on the other one is how we as the people or as the businesses will take advantage or will get the benefit from this PD. So I think each of you, I'll give you like several minutes to just to have your wrap up on these sessions. So I will start with Bu Sri first, and then after that I will ask about Adrianus.
Yeah, I think as a recap of my presentation and also our discussion, that government, especially Ministry of Industry, as I part of it, very concerned on the transformation process, transformation of industry. And then PD, it is one of national program, government program, to help industry to get to improve their productivity, and then can scale up their business. And of course, it is not only industry users or manufacturing sectors related or in this program, because we also as a people, for example, me as a government employee, and then maybe students as next they will become a player of the industry, it will also give benefit to them. So through PD, it can help the transformation, not only in the process, but also for the people to get to get knowledge and also experience on Industry 4.0 through the pillars, and to for the academics in the academic perspective, we prepare PD to develop people to be part of the transformation in Industry 4.0. And for the manufacturing sectors also, of course, PD will become the vehicle or the vehicle for them to reach their goals or their targets in the future.
Okay, thank you, Bu Sri. Pak Adrianus, you still mute?
Yes, thank you, Pak Subowo. So I think we're lucky to be Indonesian. I'm saying this from the startup point of view. We're lucky to be Indonesians. We're lucky to be in Indonesia, the country this big, fourth largest in the world. Plenty of opportunities, plenty of problems still, right? But from problems there lies opportunities, right? From challenges. So if there's anything that I want to share here, because for a lot of the participants here who are just attending the new program, master's program at SGU, kind of like relating to the first thing that I talked about at the beginning. What I did for schooling, mechanical engineering and then mechatronics, the next thing that I ended up doing was something completely different. And then it went into something else at eBay, and then somehow it came back full circle. My point here is that what lies ahead of us is unpredictable, right? I think what we should do is to make the most of what we do now. Definitely learn as much as you can, but not just academically. We talked earlier about the soft skills, the importance of having an all-rounded personality. Those things are equally important. It's not just about being theoretical, and I think that's where SGU is such a great place to be, where you can grow on both fronts. Have an open mind as you go through your day by day. Some of the questions about how to identify the problems. The problems are in front of us all the time, right? It is about being perceptive to those. There's also a question, I think, that was still unanswered about how to deal with fear, fear of failure. I definitely had to deal with that in the early days, right? Because moving from the US with family, I had kids already at that time, uprooting the entire family back to Indonesia. It took a lot of, it was a gamble, right? But for me, how I did it was by setting clear plans, personal plans, and budget. By budget, I mean not just monetary budget, but also time budget. Right? If this doesn't work after 2 years, and 2 years was the deadline that I set for myself, I have to do something else. I cannot keep doing this. I have a family to support, so that's important. But at the same time, in big decisions we make in our life, at such junctions, is also about regret minimization, right? Sometimes you think about, if I never do this, will I, by the time I'm 60, 70 years old, am I going to look back and regret that I never even bothered to try that? I think regret minimization is also an important point of view for a lot of the participants here who are still, I suppose, younger. I think you have more chance, to try things out. But if you have families already, kids and so on, of course, there's a bit more obligation. But yeah, I think it comes down to these two: how to manage fear and how to manage regret in the future. Fear now, regret in the future. But other than that, it's a great place to be in Indonesia, and I think you guys are in the right place also at SGU. And thank you so much, Pak Subowo, for inviting me today.
Thank you. I think that is a great wrap up, both from Bu Sri and Pak Adrianus. So from my side, is I just want to wrap up with the one thing is that when you go through this master degree or the graduate school, you need to look at from as part of that is increasing your tools, but tools only is not enough, as what I think the speaker today was saying is. And thanks God that we have a lot of problems, right, Pak Adrianus? Because then from those problems, then we have to see the real problem. So then it's like then you can think of how to solve that. But the soft skills, I think I agree with Pak Adrianus. That is the one that drive you where you want to go. Not the technology is the tools. It is funny today we talk about technology, but only I would say it's a very small portion that we really talk about the hardcore, the technology, right? So all of them that we talk about is mostly on the non-technology side of it. I say you identify what are the real problems of it. So basically, to identify these real problems, you need to have a lot. I mean, you have to open the horizons in order to see these real problems. Second, I think it's very interesting talking about the passionate. And also the same thing with the government. If they would like to do this PD, then they must have a passion, not just only like 5 years terms, but they must have a passion. And then the grit and the guts also is very important, play a very important role, especially in the startups, as well as on how you would like to shape and you do your career going forward. And then lastly, it's about the unique competence. Even though this it can be balanced with the passion, but I think it's important to have this uniquely competent. And I think you guys, the new coming to HU, at least you starting your journey with the right place and with the right support from all the faculties and also from friends in the community and in the professional communities. I think hopefully that you will have a good journey and also not only build up your technical skill and expertise, but also on the soft side of all of you. So thank you for attending this discussion. So I will give it back to Fendi, the MC for today's. Thank you very much for Pak Adrianus and Bu Sri for your insightful presentations.
Thank you, Pak Subo.
Thank you, Pak Subowo, and also Pak Andrianus for the inspiring session.
Oke, thank you untuk Bu Sri, Pak Adrianus, dan Pak Subowo for the insightful knowledge. Oke, for students, please fill the attendance form on the chat box for your certificate and lucky draw. Okay, 2 minutes for fill out the attendance form.
Fendi, tolong dimatikan share screen-nya. Thank you.
Okay, before we are next lucky draw session, let's singing Bagimu Negeri. Thank you. Next agenda is lucky draw session. Ladies and gentlemen, the wheels is already on the screen. The names that will show up are the winner. There will be two winners. Each winner will get a flashcard and merchandise SGU. Okay, please Mbak Kiki, could you spin the lucky draw wheels? Okay, congratulations for Bapak Moses Joshua Bizael. Okay, next. Congratulations for Bapak Hendra. Okay, congratulations. We'll get a flashcard and merchandise SGU, and the winner will be contacted by our team via WhatsApp. Okay, finally the morning session has ended. We would like to apologize for any mistakes in presenting this event. Thank you very much for your kind attention and participation. The afternoon session will be start exactly at 1 p.m. Please all new students log into the Zoom 10 minutes before. Once again, welcome to SGU and have a nice lunch. Thank you and see you soon. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yo, terima kasih ya. Ketemu lagi siang ya. Yo,
Ya,
see you
Pak.
in the afternoon.
Yo.
Terima kasih ya Bu, Bu Sri. Terima kasih Pak Arthur,
Thank you Pak Adrianus dan
Pak
Bu.
Adrianus ya.
See you later.